Hi everyone, welcome to my channel, Math Made Easy with Terry in 10 minutes. Like I said, and I always say, if you have not subscribed, I don't know what you're waiting for, click on the subscription and the notification bell. So when I post new videos, you'll be the first person to know. All right, so we're going to discuss how to find X and Y intercepts for any equation. This is very important, especially when we're talking about how to sketch a graph, okay? And we'll talk about how do we sketch for linear equation. I'm going to discuss for linear equation or line equation. And if you remember the line equation, go to the series. We talked about line equation, where it's y is equal to mx plus c, where I told you the m is the slope, and the c is the y-intercept, okay? And I gave you that there are different ways of writing the line equation. This is the slope-intercept form, or this is the standard form, ax plus by plus c equal to 0, okay? So we talked about this. Please go back to the previous video on coordinate geometry or linear equation, and you'll see that there. Then also, we're going to talk about how do we find y-intercept for quadratic equations, okay? So how do we find the x and y-intercept? I told you that the quadratic equation is in the form of ax squared plus bx plus c, all right? We talked about this. I've shown you what a quadratic equation is. So we talked about this in the previous video, but this video won't talk about how do we find the x and y-intercept. Now, there are other concepts like the cubic function and the rest of it. I'm not going to talk about that. I'm going to just restrict myself to the line equation and the quadratic equation. Is that okay? So for instance, let's pick a line equation. Let's assume we have this line. So this is the x-axis. This is the y-axis. This is the negative x, and this is the negative y. All right? Now we have a line that crosses like this. Are you seeing it? So when we say a y-intercept, we're talking about where the line is crossing the x-axis. So this is what we call the y-intercept. Okay? And here, this is what we call the what? The x-intercept. So where the line crosses the axis is what we call the intercept. So in this line, for instance, this is the y-intercept and this is the x-intercept. If we pick another example, let's say we pick a quadratic equation, okay? Same thing. We have the positive x, we have the negative x, we have the positive y, all right? And we have the negative y. And for instance, we have a quadratic equation that looks like this, all right? So now what it means is that this point here, this where it crosses the x-axis, is the what? The x-intercept. So when we say the x-intercept, we're talking about the point where it crosses the what? The x-axis. So this, in this case here, this point and this point, they are both the what? The x-intercept. And to be fair, all right, the x-intercept have been dealt with extensively before, because if you notice, the x-intercept is the root of the equation, okay? So usually in quadratic equation, so when we talk about quadratic equation, okay? The quadratic equation, all right? The x-intercept is the same thing as what? Solving the equation, the solution, or is the same thing as what? The roots. So I've shown you how to solve quadratic equation, either using the formula, the factorization method, or completing the square method. So the answer you got represents this part of the graph, okay? Now, while the other one, this part here, where it crosses the y-axis, is called the what? The y-intercept. So where it crosses the y-axis is called the y-intercept. You can also look another different way, but it will still be the same concept. So for instance, you have another graph like this. Maybe it went this way. Put it like this. Maybe it went like this. It went this way. We have it like this. Are you seeing it? Then you will see the same thing. This point here is the y-intercept. So that means this is the y-intercept. So you see that is the point that it crosses the y-axis, all right? So this is the y-intercept. Then while these 2 points here is the what? the x what? Intercept. Okay? This point here is called the what? The x-intercept. All right, so you see the y-intercept is where it crosses the y-axis. The x-intercept is where it crosses the x-axis. All right, so now how do you find the x-intercept and the y-intercept? Okay, so to do that now, there are 3 rules I'm going to talk about, or the 3 rules or 3 steps. The first thing that you have to do is that you have to write down the equation of the line or the parabola, it depends. So write down the equation of the line or the equation of the function, or if it's a function, write down it in the function of the 2 variables, the x and the y. Then number 2, you then have to then use the appropriate substitution method, okay, to find the x and y. So you're going to use the appropriate. Okay, you have to use the appropriate what? Substitution. So for instance, if it's the x-intercept you're looking for, all right, so if it's the x-intercept you're looking for, then you have to then substitute y to be equal to what? 0. This is very key. So if it's the x-intercept, you have to substitute y equals to 0 in the equation. Okay? So also, if it's the y-intercept you're looking for, you then have to substitute what? X to be equal to what? 0. Okay? So for y-intercept, the x is to be equal to 0 in the what? In the equation. So if we now go back to the graph we just talked about, so that means at each of these points, at this point here, remember we talked about coordinates? Coordinates are written in the form of x, y. So the first number is the x, the second number is the y. So please, if you've missed the video on coordinate geometry, please go back and have a look. So that means based on coordinates, the x here is going to be 0, and you're going to have a y value. Are you seeing it? For this point now, the x as well is going to be, you have an x value, but the y is what? 0. The same thing for all x-intercept and y-intercept. So for the x-intercept here, we're going to have x value, but the y is going to be 0. For the y-intercept, you're going to have x to be 0, and you have a y value. Same thing for an x-intercept, it's going to be x and 0 at these 2 points, and the y-intercept is going to be 0 and y. Okay, so that is it. So based on our understanding, because we've substituted there, we have to now write the intercepts in the correct order. So it's very important that you write the intercepts. All right, so you have to write the intercepts in the correct order. All right, so number 1, so if you're talking about x-intercept, okay, it's going to be x, 0. And if you're talking about y-intercept, it's going to be 0, y. So it's very important to write it in the correct order, because, for instance, if you write something like 3 and 0, it means you're talking about an x-intercept. So that means the line is touching the x at 3 and the y is 0. But if you're writing it as 0 and 3, it means you're referring to the y-intercept, okay? Then this is x. So that means the x is 0, but it's crossing the y at what? At 3, okay? Good. Then that are the 3 rules. So, but like I said in the previous video, all right, when we talk about if it's a quadratic equation, the x-intercept is also known as the root. Is that okay? So the x-intercept in a quadratic equation is also known as the solutions So that means if it's a quadratic equation, if the function you have is a quadratic equation, when we are saying the x-intercept, we're referring to the solution or what? The root. So I've shown you how to find the solution or the root. You either use the formula method, or you use completely the square method, or use factorization. On that factorization, we talked about difference of two squares, common factors when trinomials is equal to 1. Trinomial is not equal to 1. I also talked about how do you use also the formula to factorize, all right? So I'm going to pick an example now so that we can play around with this so that we can try it. So example 1, the example I have here. So we're told in this example, a straight line, okay, in this case, we're having a straight line, has the equation. The straight line has the equation 4x minus 3y is equal to 8, okay? If the question now said, then you have to then find the x and the y what? Intercept. The x and the y intercept, okay? Now, for the fun of it, I'm going to start with, I'm going to rewrite this in the line equation, okay? So, although the equation has been given to us, but I'm going to write it in the line equation, the slope-intercept form, which is the y is equal to mx plus c. Okay, I'm going to do it in that way to just to make it easier, or do like a form of revision of what we've talked about. Okay, because remember we have different types. We have the line slope-intercept form, the 2-point form, the standard form, okay, and 1-point form as well. So I'm going to write this in the slope-intercept form, which is the y is equal to mx plus c. So please, if you've missed my video on coordinate geometry, just go and have a look again. We discussed all this before. So we have 4x minus 3y is equal to what? 8. So what am I going to do here? We have 4x minus 3y equals to 8. And I want to write this in the what? In the slope-intercept form. So I take 4x to the other side. So it's going to be minus 3y is equal to minus 4x plus 8. So remember, the slope-intercept form is y is equal to what? mx plus c. So I want to rewrite this in the slope-intercept form. So I'm going to rewrite the equation by making the y the subject of the formula. So then I divide both sides by what? Minus 3. Okay, this will cancel that, and that will give me y is equal to 4 over 3x, then minus what? 8 over 3. So if you remember from the video for the straight line equation in coordinate geometry, you can quickly see that your y-intercept is going to be minus 8 over 3, but I'm not going to assume, okay? I'm going to just follow the steps we talked about. But if you've done the coordinate geometry, you can easily see from this, because m represents the slope, while c represents the what? The y-intercept. But let's just keep solving and not assume that we've read that or seen that before. Step 2, to find the y-intercept, we substitute y equal to 0, all right? So at y-intercept, x is equal to what? 0. So we're going to replace it. So that means anywhere you see x, you put what? 0. So 4 over 3, 0 minus 8 over 3. So therefore, the y-intercept is equal to minus what? 8 over 3. Then also, to get the x-intercept, you substitute y equal to 0. Y-intercept, x is equal to 0. So I've done the y-intercept. So it's now to do the x-intercept now. So the x-intercept, y is equal to 0. So anywhere you see y, you put what? 0 in this equation here, all right? So let's go. So it's going to be 0 is equal to 4 over 3x minus 8 over 3. We take 4 over 3 to the other side. It's going to be minus 4 over 3x is equal to minus 8 over 3. To get rid of this 3, I will multiply both sides by what? 3. So this will cancel that to give you minus 4x is equal to minus what? 8. To get rid of the minus 4, you divide it, sorry, yes. Divide both sides by minus 4, then x is going to be equal to what? 2. So the x-intercept is 2, and the y-intercept is also what? Minus 8/3. Then step 3, we then have to write it in the correct order, okay? So step 3, we're writing it in the correct order. So the x-intercept, as x-intercept, we're told that x-intercept is x comma 0, right? So x-intercept is x comma 0. So therefore, the x-intercept, the x is what? It's going to become 2 comma what? 0. Are you seeing it? Then we're going to find the y-intercept. So the y-intercept is going to be 0 comma y, and that will give us 0 comma, what's the y? Minus 8/3. And that will be the answer for that. Okay, so I'm going to pick another example now. All right, so let's have this example we have here. So we have example 2. The question said, find the x and y intercept. Okay, find the x and y intercept of y is equal to x squared plus 2x minus 3. So you can see in this example, we have a quadratic equation. In the previous example, we had a straight line, all right? So now let's go. I remember I told you quadratic equation is in the form of ax squared plus bx plus c. So let's quickly move in. So step 1, okay? Step 1 said that we need to write the equation of the line of the function. So we had a quadratic equation, and I told you that it's ax squared plus bx plus c. Now, if you look at this, for example, you see that it has already been written for us in the right format. So we just write it down and we just move on to the next one. Is that okay? So we'll go to step 2. Now, at step 2, the first thing that we're told that we need to what? If x-intercept, substitute y equal to 0. So that means we need to substitute y equal to 0. So anywhere we see y, we're going to put 0. So at x-intercept, we have what? Y is equal to 0. So if you put that, it's going to be 0 is equal to x squared plus 2x minus 3, which is the same thing as saying x squared plus 2x minus 3 is equal to 0. So you can see what I said. When you're looking at x-intercept, it's similar to, it's exactly the same thing as finding the solution of a quadratic equation and also of finding the roots. So we're going to use, I have 3 methods that we talked about. So we talked about the formula method, we talked about factorization method, and we talked about completing the square method, all right? So I'm going to use the factorization method here, okay? And on that factorization, we talked about when a is equal to 1, when a is not equal to 1, difference of 2 squares and common factors. But I'm going to use the trinomials when a is equal to 1 to solve this, all right? So let's go. We're going to look for a number that you multiply that will give you minus 3. And when you add it, it's going to give you plus 2. So it's going to be what? 3 and 1. It's going to be 3 and minus 1, sorry. So because 3 times minus 1 will give you minus 3. 3 plus minus 1 is going to give you 2. So please go back to the previous video and review, okay, so that you know how to solve this. We've discussed this already. So it's going to be x plus 3, and you're going to be x minus 1 equal to 0. Then I also told you then you have to equate each of them to be equal to 0 to find for x, okay? So that means it's going to be x is equal to minus 3, okay? At the first answer we have here, and we're going to have x is equal to what? 1 as well, all right? Now, then we've done for x-intercept. The next part is to find what? The y-intercept. So at y-intercept, we have to substitute x to be equal to 0. So y-intercept. So at y-intercept, okay, x must be equal to 0. So that means in this equation here, anywhere you see x, you put 0. So let's go. So we have y will be equal to, let me write this step 3. So y will be equal to 0 squared plus 2, 0, then minus 3. So all this becomes 0. All this becomes 0. So y will be equal to what? Minus 3. Are you seeing? Then, oh, sorry, this is the part of the, it's the part of step 2. Okay, so we're going to step 3 now. So this is step 3. Write the intercept in the correct order. All right, so we're going to do that now. We're writing the intercept in the correct order. So that's step 3. Write it in the correct order. And we said if it's x-intercept, it's going to be x comma 0. So let's go. X-intercept. So at x-intercept, it's going to give you x comma 0, right? So that means our x, but in this case, we have two x's. So the first one is going to give us minus 3 comma 0. And the second one is going to be 1 comma what? 0. Are you seeing it? Then at y-intercept, okay, at y-intercept, if you check it, y-intercept is 0 comma y. So let's go. Y-intercept is 0 comma y. So that means it's going to be the 0 and the y minus what? Minus 3. And that's how you do it. Okay, so we're done with finding the x and y intercept. So we've done one for quadratic equation, and we've done one for a linear equation. So you can try with other ones. You can try with cubic graphs or cubic functions and different types of polynomials, and you still get the same thing. All right, so the next, I'm going to go straight to the next one. We're going to talk about sketching this time. So we're going to see how we're going to sketch a linear graph. All right, so I'm going to start with sketching a linear graph. Then I'm also going to show you how to sketch a quadratic equation, quadratic graph as well. So I'm trying to sketch a linear graph just to remind us, a quadratic graph as well, because down the line, we'll be solving questions that have to do with quadratic simultaneous equation, where we're going to have both a linear graph and a quadratic equation graph. So that at that point now, we can now solve different kind of questions. So the next video I'm going to talk about is how to sketch a linear graph. All right, good. So if you've not subscribed, please don't forget to do so. And if you have any question, feel free, drop me an email and I'll respond to you as soon as I can. So I'm going to see you in the next video. All right, so I'll see you soon.